Who would have thought that a small gangster like Met could be the real young master of Xingyue Group who was taken away by mistake? In the alley, seeing me wearing school uniform but smoking and holding a stick, the Liu family subconsciously stretched out their hands to protect the boy who was looking at me curiously. The middle-aged man and woman in the front, who were dressed elegantly, looked at me in disbelief, their voices trembling. "Are you John?" I was smoking a cigarette, and when I heard that, I put it out and nodded in confusion. The brothers beside me looked at each other, not understanding what was going on. "Brother Hao, who are these people?" Before I could say anything, the elegant-looking woman rushed over, hugged me, and started crying. My son, I am your biological mother. I finally found you." I don't know why the other party suddenly went crazy. Even the middle-aged man's eyes were red. I was about to push the other person away when a young woman pursed her lips and looked at me with complicated eyes. "Hello, John, I'm your sister Linda. 17 years ago, your current adoptive mother was our family's nanny. She and our mother got pregnant and gave birth to a child at the same time, who knew she had evil intentions, coveting fame and wealth, and secretly swapped her child with yours." Before I could be surprised at my own experience, I just noticed that the car was suddenly silent as everyone froze. I was too lazy to pay attention to them and just lowered my eyes to look at the scenery outside the window. From the window, you can clearly see the commercial building and the Pearl Lighthouse not far away. It was the first time for me to be so close to these places. After a while, my good mother spoke first. "Nianhao, I'm sorry, but your brother didn't mean it. He's too kind and easily sentimental. But he really just feels guilty about you." My father nodded in agreement. My sister Linda frowned and looked at me with helplessness and a hint of displeasure. "Nianhao, Xiaohao is just afraid that we won't want him after you come back, so don't blame him, okay? Also, when you go back, you must change your previous behavior. Look at the way you are dressed. You look like a gangster, and why are you smoking? How can a good kid do such things? I will help you with your homework when you get back. There are many brand-name clothes and shoes in my closet. You can choose whatever you want. They are all bought by my parents and sister. We can wear them together." Listening to these hypocritical words, which were both praise and criticism, I was completely speechless. However, the Liu family members looked at him with more satisfaction, probably because they thought that he was kind and generous and a good role model. I found it a little funny and sneered. Facing the slightly reproachful gazes of the Liu family, I simply said one sentence. "But my annual tuition and living expenses are collected for me by these bad boys you call bad students. All this is thanks to your good mother, brother. Do small animals raised in a greenhouse, even a seemingly mighty wolfhound, really think they can defeat wild dogs that have fought in the abyss?" The first thing the Liu family did after taking me back was to change my name. They also held a grand celebration for my return. That night, all the relatives, friends, and business partners of the Liu family came, and the villa was brightly lit. My parents brought me, dressed up handsomely, and introduced me solemnly on the stage. My story has long been a well-known gossip among these wealthy nobles, so no one seemed particularly surprised. However, I sneered in my heart when I saw Robert, who looked normal and was chatting and laughing with others in the audience. I guess he's planning something bad for me. As expected, as soon as I stepped off the stage, he quickly grabbed me. "Brother, come with me. I'll introduce you to our peers." Even my mother, who was holding my arm, agreed and said, "Go ahead, Xiaocheng, follow your brother and see the world." I smiled and said it didn't matter. The ducks in the group finally shut me up. The group of people who were so arrogant just now were escorted by their elders to come in front of me, smiling. "Oh, Xiaocheng, this little girl of mine is talking nonsense. Please don't be angry. Auntie will beat her when she gets home." "So what you mean is that you don't intend to pursue the matter?" The parents looked embarrassed, their mouths opened, but not a word. Linda sighed, but still spoke helplessly. "Xiaocheng, everyone knows that Lisa is Xiaohao's biological mother. You also know that if the biological parents have a criminal record, the child will definitely be implicated. We are definitely willing to let this woman be punished, but the premise is that Xiaohao cannot be implicated. He is innocent. Besides, Lisa has raised you to this age, so it's hard for us to pursue the issue. You can understand us, right?" Robert looked at the Liu family with emotion. His parents patted his head gently. But then I thought about it. Maybe it was because the injuries on my body that day were too shocking and my family's reaction was too intense that made Robert really make up his mind. After all, if he wasn't a little ruthless, he might never be able to regain his former position in this family. At school, Mark saw me and excitedly shouted in the corridor, "Brother Hal, you are finally back. Our Hung High School's #1 brother is back." Mark is used to calling me Brother Hal, and for a moment, I just didn't bother to pay attention to him. Not surprisingly, I pulled out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. "I told you not to smoke in school, so you'll just pretend you don't know anything after I leave, right?" Paul approached me with a smile. "Brother Hal, are you used to your new home? They don't bully you, do they?" I raised the corner of my mouth and glanced at him. "Who can bully me?" He scratched his head. "Brother Hal, will you still play with us in the future? Will you be looked down upon by those people?" He spoke more and more quietly, and finally, he didn't even dare to look me in the face. I snorted coldly and slapped him on the head. "What's wrong, little brat? Didn't you say that we should stay together when we become rich?" Your face turned pale so quickly that it looked like a kite falling from the window. But he gave me a secret smile, which was fleeting. After falling from the second floor, he collapsed in the garden. The white peonies blooming around him looked as red as his blood. The gardener screamed, and the aunt who was cleaning the room also screamed. The Liu family stumbled to the garden and heard the aunt pointing at me incoherently. Yes, it was the second young master who pushed him. It seemed like they had a quarrel over the second young master's adoptive mother. I saw the second young master. "Master, push it down." The mother cried out while holding the unconscious Robert, her eyes blurred with tears, like a swan in grief watching her beloved son in an accident. The sister and others were busy beating him, and my father slapped me hard as I walked over. "John, you should be glad that Xiaohao didn't get hurt. But he got a concussion and a broken leg, and he can't take the college entrance examination. We still misjudged you. You are an ungrateful person." At this time, even my usually good-tempered mother got angry. She pointed at me, her voice trembling. "John, you are not my son. My son cannot be such a vicious person." I nodded again to show that I understood. My father sat there with his head down, not knowing what he was thinking about. I didn't want to argue with them anymore, so I simply took out the severance agreement that I had prepared long ago. "Sign it. Give me another 10,000, and I'll leave and never bother your family again. You have never supported me, and you only give me 100,000 yuan a year. Even if I just remove the scars on my body, it will cost me several 100,000 yuan." As if hurt by my tone, my mother turned away, unwilling to see me again. There was silence. Being a good father, he took the agreement and signed his name without hesitation. "Throw me another card. There's 2 million in there. Don't ever show up in front of us again." After the ambulance arrived, no one from the Liu family cared about me anymore, and we anxiously rushed to the hospital with the medical staff. With a bright red slap mark on my face, I took out a cigarette box from my pocket, took out a cigarette, and was about to light it when rain started falling from the dark sky. "It's really bad weather." Robert was really cruel to himself. I smiled silently. Even though we can only be mortal enemies in this life, I think I still admire such ruthless people. Because my body full of scars made him clearly understand that unless he had scars more severe than mine, he would never be able to gain a foothold in this family just because of his biological mother. He wanted to trick me, and I let him succeed. The next day, the Liu family returned exhausted. My father was disheveled, my mother was in tears, and Linda looked at me with disgust. She grabbed my arm and threw me to the ground with an angry tone. "Oh, I see. But I just don't want to apologize to him." At this time, even my mother, who was usually good-tempered, got angry. She pointed at me and her voice trembled. "John, you are not my son. My son cannot be such a vicious person. Up." Mother Liu and Linda looked at him disapprovingly, but he seemed really determined to cut off ties with me, his biological son. I put away the agreement and the card, picked up my already packed school bag, hummed a song, and left this home where I had stayed for less than a month. Standing outside the villa, I didn't look back once. In fact, I have given the Liu family a chance. Whether it was when we first met, at the celebration, or just now. Unfortunately, things never happened 3 times. Soon, everyone, whether in the wealthy circle or ordinary students, knew about it. The real young master that the Liu family recognized was so vicious that he almost killed the kind and sensible fake young master. He was kicked out in less than a month. Mark and a few brothers were gritting their teeth in anger beside me, but I just smiled nonchalantly with a lazy tone. It's no big deal. I took tens of thousands from them. Mark lowered his head and pursed his lips without saying anything, and everyone else also fell silent. I know they are afraid of making me sad, but in fact, I never spend any time caring about irrelevant people, let alone feel sad. What's more, I have prepared 2 surprises for the Liu family and Robert. After school, I withdrew some cash from the bank and went door to door to return it to the parents of my friends who had secretly raised money for my tuition. This money definitely cannot be given directly to Mark and those boys. Otherwise, it will definitely not fall into the hands of their parents. These guys will probably be so happy that they will rent an internet cafe for a year. But when the uncles and aunts took the money and heard the reason, they all smiled at the same time. We knew they were using the money to pay your tuition. We were just mad at the way those brats behaved, so we beat them up on purpose. I was stunned for a moment, then bowed respectfully to the uncles and aunts. They didn't say anything, and they heard what happened to me, but no one showed any disgust. Good boy, live your life well from now on. I thanked him sincerely, and couldn't help but look back when I turned to leave. But I want to escape from her, and that hell more than anyone else. I want to escape. I want to climb out of the abyss. How can I get this opportunity if I don't swallow my tears and disguise myself? The school and all my classmates and teachers were extremely shocked. Some of them even secretly reported me to the Education Bureau, accusing me of cheating. Unfortunately, the Education Bureau investigated again and again, but of course found nothing, because I did not cheat at all. John, ranked top 3 in the province. He had been hiding his incompetence. These 2 pieces of news shocked countless people, including the Liu family. They seemed to have some regrets. I don't know if it was because of my excellent college entrance examination results or because of something else. Anyway, I don't want to know. The Liu family came to see me the day after the results were released. By then I had already rented a house in a small alley. I don't know where they got the news from. When I got home, I saw the Liu family. Squeezed in my small house, I looked very unnatural. Of course Robert didn't come. Mother Liu looked at me, as if she wanted to say something but stopped herself. Father Liu rubbed his brows, and Linda sighed. After being at odds for so long, it's time for you to come back, right? Xiaohao has already forgiven you, and we have forgiven you too. I found it funny, watching several people taking off their shoes without even changing them. After the results came out, the top universities in the country showed their interest in me and even started competing for me. Many teachers also advised me to study abroad. But I chose Peking University, which is ranked first in comprehensive ranking in China. After knowing that I chose Beijing University, Linda sent me a message. I had blocked them a long time ago, but she had too many numbers. Kyoto University has a long history and a good academic atmosphere. It's a very good choice. Your parents want to hold a graduation party for you. It's time for you to go home. I scoffed, but didn't refuse this time. Master Liu, you are so glorious today, but your brother is suffering. He should have been there too, but unfortunately, he can only sit in a wheelchair now. The Liu family member froze, and their smiles dimmed. I smiled generously and clinked glasses with her. So that's what happened. What a coincidence. I was just about to apologize to my brother. When the Liu family heard this, they looked at me hopefully. Tang Wan, on the other hand, had a bad feeling in her heart. She turned around and looked at Robert, who was forcing a smile. I personally went over and pushed his wheelchair under Robert's horrified eyes and brought him to the stage. Robert's face was almost transparent, and his body was shaking uncontrollably. I turned on the microphone without paying attention to anyone around. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to my graduation banquet today. I believe everyone knows that I had a little conflict with my brother Robert before. Looking at the puzzled eyes of the people in the audience, I curled the corners of my mouth and looked innocently at Robert, who was helpless in the wheelchair. I pressed the play button on my phone, and the video of he-she on the big screen suddenly disappeared and was replaced by the surveillance footage. Robert's face turned pale, and he turned to look at me in disbelief. I smiled softly in his ear. Robert, you don't think you're the only one who can buy Andy, do you? In fact, I had already paid another aunt in the family to set up surveillance in Robert's room while he was not at home, and everyone was attracted by the surveillance footage. The surveillance video clearly shows the struggle between Robert and I, and even our voices can be heard. Suddenly, I saw Robert grab my hand, push me back hard, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then he broke the glass window and fell down. It was that simple. But just like the last celebration, everyone was stunned. The Liu family turned their heads in disbelief and looked at Robert on the stage. Robert was trembling all over, looking at the disappointed, contemptuous, and mocking eyes of the people below the stage, and suddenly, he couldn't hold on and fainted. I walked off the stage calmly and confidently. Before leaving the venue, I walked towards the frozen Liu family members and gave them my last gift. By the way, Dad should know that Robert is your biological son, the son of you and Lisa. The incident that day caused quite a stir. After all, the Liu family was a well-known family in City C, and it was even reported on the news. In the news video, Robert was sent to the hospital in a disgusted manner while unconscious. After Robert left, Mother Liu started beating and kicking Father Liu like crazy, and even Linda did not stop him. No one knew what was happening. I ate snacks and watched this comedy, and I thought it was really good to go with my meal. How do I know that Robert is the biological son of Mr. Liu and Lisa? Lisa told me this herself after she was drunk. As I grew up, I became more and more suspicious that I was not Lisa's biological son. Plus, when she got drunk, she kept muttering, "Xiao hao, xiao hao." Anyone with enough guts would have noticed something was wrong. Also, I will always remember her angry and distorted face when I got first place in the exam. There was a look of jealousy and hatred in his eyes, a vicious look that wondered why you could get first place. She must have a biological son who is not as good as me. I was right. Lisa was actually very tight-lipped. But once when she got drunk, I guided her to tell the whole truth. It turns out that Lisa, as the Liu family's nanny, had an affair with the male owner and even became pregnant. Mother Liu was also pregnant at the time, and Father Liu certainly didn't want Lisa to be born. So this woman had a vicious idea. Not long after the two children were born, she secretly switched me and Robert and took me away. But she didn't expect to be discovered by Liu's father. Father Liu recognized that I had a red mole on my neck, but Robert didn't have one. But he chose to remain silent because he was afraid that his affair with Lisa would be discovered by his wife and daughter, and he would no longer be able to maintain his image as a good person who dotes on his wife and daughter. So, my biological father watched helplessly as Lisa took me away to live. Perhaps because he felt guilty, he would give Lisa a large sum of money every year as my child support. But how could it be used on me? All this money only raised an alcoholic. When I first learned the truth, I was shocked. But later, I kept silent, because I knew that no one could save me except myself. So when the Liu family came to pick me up, I was already calm. What's more, even my mother and sister, who still had a glimmer of hope, were more inclined to Robert. It's not that I didn't give it a chance. It's just that I was disappointed enough. What happened next? It's karma. The Liu family went bankrupt. The news of the divorce between Liu's mother and father was a hot topic, and the fact that Liu's father had watched Lisa swap the child was also exposed. The Liu family was in disrepute, and the company's shares fell again and again. In addition, Liu's father and mother divorced, and the company experienced the turmoil of splitting up shares. The entire company was already exhausted, and only a shell was left. Mr. Liu took Robert away, but it wasn't necessarily because he loved his son so much. Perhaps it was because Robert could no longer be in the arms of his mother and sister. How ridiculous. People originally thought that blood ties could not hinder their family affection, but once their own interests were involved, people would become so selfish and terrible. Robert was ruthless enough, but he failed to recognize the reality, so he lost miserably. Later, Liu's mother and Linda sued Lisa, and Lisa successfully got on the prison food. Linda kept sending me messages to harass me, and the content was either to apologize to me or to tell me how much my mother missed me. Mother? Oh, I never had a mother. Who would have thought that they would even come downstairs of my little house to squat on me? When I saw this so-called mother and sister again, I could hardly recognize them. Mother Liu looked very haggard and no longer looked like the bright and beautiful woman she once was. As for Linda, Fine lines appeared at the corners of her eyes, and she looked 10 years older. Mother Lu almost knelt down to me, but I stopped her calmly. Linda's tone was bitter. Xiaoqing, Lisa is in jail. We didn't sue Joseph because he is your biological father. If anything happens, it might implicate you. I said, oh, now I am treated the same as Robert, who was favored back then. Unfortunately, I wasn't moved. I took out the severance agreement again, speaking in a serious and solemn tone. When I didn't immediately produce that surveillance video to prove my innocence, you should have understood my choice. Please don't bother me anymore. I have nothing to do with you or the Liu family anymore. Under the streetlight, the two men looked pale, but I had already turned around, leaving them with only my back gradually moving away. From now on, we will be strangers if we meet again. John, it's time to live your own life.